Hi everybody, hope you're doing marvellously well. About a month or so ago, we were in Sunset Sound for a Produce Like a Pro masterclass. It was a lot of fun. We had an incredible band. We had on drums Mr. Victor Indrizzo. Victor is an insane player and a wonderful guy with a resume as long as your arm, or actually a resume as long as several people's arms. On bass, of course, Mr. Sean Hurley. Pretty incredible bass player, has played with absolutely everybody, John Mayer being one of many, many highlights. Our good friend Steve Maggiora played keys, and Steve obviously plays in Robert John on the Wreck, solo, and of course is the keyboard player and one of the singers in Toto. GP, Mr. Greg Pajer, a good friend of mine, a great guitar player in Los Angeles, played guitars. And the artist was our good friend, who I'm sure you know and love well, Katie Ferrara. So what we did is we recorded at Sunset Sound with all of their beautiful, expensive microphones through their console. And this was Studio 3, which I call the Prince Room. So Studio 3, and we went through their beautiful console, the console they've had in there since before Prince, but all of those albums were recorded on. But our good friend, Academy member and team member, Miss Melissa Bell, also simultaneously took a split of every single one of those microphones and went through UAD Luna using the mic pre's. We had 3 8XPs and we completely mirrored it. So we recorded simultaneously on Luna with the 8XPs through mic pre's, the mic pre emulations, and she tried to mirror some EQs and compression. I haven't listened back to back. We're going to do that in a second. So before we get started, here's like a rough mix off the console from the day.
Pavements, the rush of people, counting the hours.
Now, let's go over to Melissa, and Melissa is going to describe how she recorded this simultaneously while we were recording on the kit. And then, if you stick around, we are going to break down and listen. And I'm going to do it for the first time on camera. I'm going to listen to both down here, the Luna version, and over here, the Pro Tools version. And don't forget, of course, you can download these multitracks. We're going to let you decide for yourself. You're going to download these multitracks.
Hi, everybody in the Produce Like a Pro community. My name is Melissa Bell. I'm from the amazingly awesome and only horribly expensive Northern California Bay Area. And I've been down here at Sunset Sound with Warren and the rest of the masterclass for the last few days. We've been doing a really interesting thing here, as I think Warren probably told you, where we've been actually tracking the session with Katie twice. So we had the main session going on Pro Tools through the big console. We were also tracking in parallel to Universal Audio's Luna platform via a setup that they kindly provided us. And I think we're pretty happy in general with how it performed. Just to get started, let's take a really quick listen to what we did. So we actually were feeding Luna with splits of all the mic lines. So they were tracking through the console preamps. We were actually going through the Universal Audio preamps. They do some really great models of classic preamps. And in order to best align with the general character and tone of the console here at Sunset Sound, we were using all API. So Universal Audio very recently came out with this absolutely amazing API preamp that models a 212 module from their classic consoles. So we were using this on every single channel. We didn't use any other preamps. They have a wide selection, but this is the one we chose to go with. The great thing about these Unison preamps is that just like the hardware, you can actually drive them a little bit hard and then back off on the output to get that kind of classic, transformer style saturation and that sort of stuff. And it's really great. Another recent addition to the Luna ecosystem is this console extension model. And you can see here that we are using the API Vision console channel strip across every channel in the session. And that gives us what you would expect. We get an input module with high and low pass filters and an additional stage align gain. We get some basic channel dynamics. And most importantly, we get that 550B EQ that we all love. The console here in Studio 3 at Sunset Sound has 550As, but 550Bs are just as nice. So pretty much everything on the session is running through there and tracking through those pre's. We made a little bit of as much as effort as we could afford to make to try and match what they were doing on the console. So if they were driving something a little bit hard, we tried to drive it a little bit hard here. If they were recording something super clean, we tried to record it super clean here. So we can take a listen to just, maybe something in solo here. So if we take a listen to some drums from that section here. So this is all of the same mics that we were using, some really, really nice ones, feeding the board, but split off into the UAD ecosystem and running on their Unison preamps. I think it sounds pretty killer. We've done very little to these. We can take a look at what we've done on a few things. Most of this is just channel EQ. So we're using a lot of the 550 channel EQ, just like we were doing on the big board. You can see that we've got a few extra things. I did bring in the 550A on the snare bus because we had that going on the rough mix last night. On the snare top, we brought in the UAD Pultec because we were using a very similar EQ here. We've got this mono kit mic that I ended up running a distressor on just because I thought that it sounded a little bit closer to what they got off of the board saturation that way. With some parallel compression on the rooms. And that's it. There's not a lot going on here. And I think it just goes to show you that when you've got a really good drummer and good mics and a great room, but also when you've got preamps that can be pushed and driven and give you a little bit of that natural saturation and compression right off the bat, you really don't have to do all that much to make things that sound really good. Some more stuff going on here on the bass. Let's listen to a little bit of bass. So we've got two tracks for the bass. We've got a DI and an amp. The amp tone is actually ridiculous on this. Incredible bass player, and everything just sounded amazing. All we've got going on here is a little bit of EQ on the amp just to boost the attack a little bit and cut out a little bit of the mud. And then we've got a DBX 160 compressor, which is the same unit that we've got here in the rack that was on the DI track. So not a lot going on. We could go down the line and you'll see very similar things. Hardly anything on this session. It really just comes down to that excellent preamp emulation, and the console board EQ emulation, and it's great. When we get down to the lead vocals, we do have a standard compressor and EQ chain and a little bit of reverb and stuff like that, but really nothing crazy going on. The last thing I wanted to talk about in Luna that I think is really special about the system is you'll notice on my group channels here, which are all of these bright green ones and some other assorted colors, we've got this summing extension here at the top. So it says API summing here. And this is Luna's console modeling technology. It's really great and very pervasive. It actually changes the taper of the faders that feed it on individual channels. It's pretty cool. But this is giving us, again, another level of that separation and space and saturation and subtle sort of compression that happens when you drive the groups on a big analog console a little bit hard. I think they sound fantastic. I will admit to preferring the console here at Sunset Sound, but I can tell you that it's a pretty close second, and it's really, really fantastic stuff. So I hope you've enjoyed this. It's been a super quick overview of what we did in Luna and how we did it. I'm pretty happy with the results. It was an interesting experiment. And if you are in the UAD ecosystem or considering getting into the ecosystem, then definitely check out Luna, because I think it's a great way to get a little bit of that analog mojo on your in-the-box workflow. So thank you very much.
I've got a rough mix-up on the Luna version. Firstly, it just sounds awesome. I think the first thing I'm noticing, and I'm starting with this, I'm not going to the console first. It's really, really good low end. I'm just going to do full mix first of all. Okay, now I'm moving over to the Pro Tools through the console. Start in a similar place. Now, the room mics are more down on this. What's interesting is it's a little bit more glued. It's the transients are a little bit more shaved off. And I don't normally do this, but if you look, I was definitely hitting the console pretty darn hard. Look at that kick out. Even though there's no compression on it, it's still like, it's hitting the pre very, very hard. So it's getting shaved off on the transients. Now I'm going back to the Luna version. I'm going to bring up the snare top. Oh, the whole drums. Oh, great. Now I'm going to go back to the Pro Tools version. You're definitely going to have to download these multitracks for yourself. There's things I like about both. If you want me to be really, really blunt, I think I might, in general, prefer the non-$1 million version in some ways. It's got the low lows that this one has, but it's also got a lot of openness to it. Do you hear that? Now, obviously, we can mix them both, and I highly encourage you to mix the multitracks on both of them and decide for yourself which ones you prefer. There is a lot going on with the console ones where you can tell that it's hitting the console pretty hard, and we're using that kind of transient rounding off, the almost limiting of the pre's themselves. It's interesting because you don't get the mid-range distortion at all. You just kind of get this mid-range forwardness. So there's definitely some more mid-mids going on this. But on the Luna, it's a lot more open on the top, like extended high end. You hear it immediately. It's not a joke. You hear it immediately. But you also get that extended low lows. You know, I'm trying to be as objective as possible because this room here, Sunset Sound, is one of my favorite rooms in the world. And I love that console. One of the things I like about that console is being able to mix back through it using the monitor section, because it just seems to soak up transients. And I find it very hard to beat mixes that are done like that. When I come back here and put it back through the SSL, which we're not doing here, we're just listening to these completely untreated. When I do that back through the SSL, I usually have to work quite hard to get back some of the extra glue that the console provides. And I have to kind of use a little less EQ on this console I normally would. I don't know what it is about this. It feels like the Luna version with the pre's means that I can, I don't know, maybe do a little less because of the openness there. Whichever way you want to shake it. And I obviously want you to download the multitracks and decide for yourself. My guess is that the smart guys and girls amongst you are probably going to say you prefer this instrument on this and you prefer that instrument on that. That's going to be my guess, because I do think that the bass, and we can solo it, I do feel like the bass on the console is pretty darn special. So here's just the bass on the Pro Tools through the console. Now I'm going to go to Luna and listen. I like that too. I mean, it's Sean Hurley. All right, we just stopped there on the chorus. Now I'm going to go and listen to the chorus here. Okay. There's definitely some more fullness in the bass going through the console. There's also a lot of like natural compression and limiting the way that it's hitting those mic pre's and everything that isn't happening on this version. But can I make this version sound amazing? It already does sound amazing. Yeah. That's going to be my gut, that you might find, you know, we didn't do like with like because we didn't have the exact same things, but here's the electric guitars on the console. Now let's go to the electric guitars on Luna. Oh, got a bit of acoustic in there as well. Accidental, but quite beautiful. It's a different mix. Whichever way you shake it, there definitely feels like there's a little bit more low mids in that. Let's go back to the Pro Tools session. There's also a different blend on the mix. So it feels a little kind of narrower. It does feel like there's a little bit more low mid in there, but it also doesn't feel like there's the high end sparkle in there as well. So the thing that's being proven to me, and I want to listen to the piano next, because I think the piano could be one of the most telling things. The thing this is proving to me is that mic pre's, consoles, we know this, but they color the sound. What's happening here is you can choose how you want to color the sound afterwards. You could change out the mic pre's. You can go through the mic pre's, but you can also change them out and do whatever the heck you like. And I suppose as much as I absolutely, and I do, love, completely and utterly love Sunset Sound, there's something to be said for recording something really, really super clean and then being able to manipulate the sound afterwards. So what's interesting on the piano is I have stereo miking going on the piano, but I also have a mono mic as well. So I'm only going to listen to the stereo because we did two mics that we split to go to Luna. We only have those two mics. We can throw in the mono if we like in a minute, or you can play around with it, see what it adds. But here is the piano, stereo version of the piano from the console. Mids are very pronounced. Left side's a little hot. So let's check out the piano on Luna. I'm going to immediately go back to the Pro Tools one. And again, I really want you to do this for yourself. Again, mic pre's rounding off transients more aggressively. Now I'm going to go to Luna and listen to the whole track. It's like, I like a lot of what's happening with the console, with the transients being rounded off quite so aggressively like they are. But I also like the fact that this has so much more depth, so much more air on the top. It'd be interesting to put like a pink noise through it and just see how much those pre's and all the electronics in the way are really affecting things. Because these are mics that are split and going through an HDX rig and going through the Apollo 8 XP. When you're talking about using classic, incredible consoles and amazing rooms, which these both have the amazing room, obviously the console itself is going to impart a very, very significant sound. Melissa mirrored a lot of the sounds using mic pre's, but they didn't have, and she didn't have number one, these mic pre's, and also the bussing and the transformers and all the other stuff that would have been in there, just the mic pre. And a lot of that has affected it and in a way that has rounded off a lot of those transients and also imparted a more mid-rangey, less hi-fi high-end than we're getting on this other one. But is that good or is that bad? Or is it just different? I suppose ultimately, to reiterate what we were sort of touching on before, was the advantage of using the Luna system for many people that don't have access to really expensive rooms is they can modify the mic pre's, change it out, try different sounds, see what they want to use. I didn't at any time during the recording go over it and listen to this. This is the first time I've heard this. First time I've heard this. All we did was have Melissa split that signal so it was going to both areas at the same time. I like this a lot. I like this a lot. I love this. I absolutely love Sunset. I love the sound of that console. It's my favorite room in the world to track in. But now I'm thinking, what can I choose? If I went back again with this system, set it up, what would I choose to use through the console? And what would I choose to just record directly through these pre's and maybe do some real-time kind of stuff on the way in? It's really intriguing, isn't it? It's really intriguing. I think this is the ultimate test. You know, studios are more than just gear. They're more than just rooms. They are a combination of all of those things. They're a combination of the mic closet. They're a combination of the room itself. They're a combination of, you know, the live room, the control room, the console, the outboard gear, how it's wired together. You know, everything makes a difference. And studios like Sunset Sound with incredible resumes are also inspiring places to go to. People go there to know that they tracked in the same room as Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, the Doors, and of course Van Halen, and many other incredible artists. That's one of the reasons why I go there. I go there because I want to be in that surrounding and I want the sound of that room. Download the multitracks, decide for yourself. I'd love to hear your opinions. There's no right opinion on this, and there's no wrong opinion. That's what's so beautiful. But I think we can all agree that this allows you a lot of variation. I can open up different mic pre's and try different ideas, either while tracking through them or afterwards. Going through the console, you can tell, really imparts a sound. Really does. And if we hit maybe the mic pre emulations on the way in here, I wonder how much more we could have done with that. But obviously, post, you can do all kinds of great stuff. The Apollo X8Ps do sound great. Luna's easy to use because I'm a Pro Tools guy and I know the shortcuts. And strangely enough, they use a lot of the same shortcuts. Very smart. I'm enjoying this. I'm digging this. This is great. Find out for yourself. Download the multitracks. Let me know what you think. Have a mix of the song. This is a song I wrote with Katie. We've got strings going on it. We've got lead vocals. We've got backgrounds. And you will hear all of those in good time. Thanks ever so much for watching. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir. Download the multitracks. Sayonara. Adios. Adio. Tschüss. Goodbye.